You sat down ready to build the best website ever. Or why does everything look rubbish? You've entered ChatGPT hell, copying and pasting answers left, right and centre. But still the div refuses to be centered. But it's your lucky day because I'm here to save you with my incredible video on Flex and Grid. So we're going to do Flex. So we've got display Flex, and that's going to set the container to display using the Flex property. Now to start out, we can do Flex direction. Now we can tell it to be a row. It's already a row, so we won't notice anything different. But if we were to set that to column, we'd notice that it displays as a column instead. Yeah, but we can also, so notice that these items are going 1, 2, 3, right? Well, we can do column reverse, and then that's going to go, don't do me dirty like that, column reverse, and we'll notice that now it goes 1, 2, 3, but it's 3, 2, 1. Yeah. And we can do the same for when it's in a row, and that will send it to the end of the row as well. So notice that we've got 1, 2, 3, yeah, and then yeah, row's kind of pointless because it's the default Flex option anyway. Now, when we justify content, we're just aligning things horizontally on the x-axis. So notice how 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are now in the middle of the container. Right, but if we were to add, I don't know, space between we can do as well. That puts space between, we can space evenly, and that ensures that the different items are spaced evenly throughout the container. So every single bit of spacing between each item is exactly the same. And we also have space around. Now, the reason that space around is slightly different from space evenly is because when we use space around, what we're doing is we're basically aligning things so that they're equal from the left hand to the right hand of the screen. So you'll notice that it's exactly the same. So we've covered, yeah, we can align things in the center of the container. We can space around, which is just even spacing, as well as space evenly. We can flex start and we can flex end. So we can flex end and go right to the end of the container, or we could flex start and go right to the start of the container on the x-axis or horizontally. But now's for the fun part. So I'm going to add a little bit of padding, like, I don't know, something like that. Might even give it 5 EM. Yeah, and then what we're going to do is, instead of justifying content, so we can justify content flex start, okay? I would change that. So now we're going to have a look at align items. Now, align items is pretty much the same principle, but the way that this works differently is it's going along the y-axis. So this is going vertically. So we can start, flex start, and that will bring our items. Now it's not going to, because we've added the padding actually, so I'm going to remove that. I thought it was a good idea, I was wrong. So if we had a column, that might be a better way to, yeah. So flex start won't do much, but flex end is going to move things to the end on the y-axis. And then we can also 1, 2, 3 column reverse row. Right. And what we're going to do is we're going to take item 2, and we're going to give it a height of 200 pixels, something like that. Yeah. Right. Now, notice how when we align items flex start, the 1 and the 3 are going to align with the height of the biggest element, and we can do that differently. So we can do flex end, and flex end will bring these items to the bottom of this biggest element here. All right. Now another example of that would be stretch. So that tries to match the height of the highest element in the container. So notice how 1, 2, 3, they've all gone to the same. So we've stretched all the different items and aligned them with the second box inside of the container. And then obviously we can do center, which is just going to align them on the center. So that's pretty straightforward to understand. So now we're going to be moving on to, So now we're going to be moving on to columns. So, I mean grid even. So we've got display grid. So we've set the container to grid already. And the first thing that we're going to be starting off with is to display template columns. And now, normally, we would go 1 FR, 1 fraction, 1 fractional unit, go. And the reason that we do that one FR, 1 FR, yeah, 1 FR. And the reason that we do that is because what we're doing here is we're preparing the columns, and we've got 3 different columns, each spaced by 1 fractional unit. Now, what we could do to simplify that is we could use repeat, and we could say 3 columns with 1 fractional unit, or we could even have 4, or even 5. But I'd probably keep it at 4, because 4 looks nice right now. And then we have grid template rows, which we could do exactly the same. So we could, no, that's not doing much, but basically you'd be able to go 1 FR, 1 FR, grid template columns, 1 FR, 1 FR, 1 FR. And that's just a very simple way of setting the rows and the columns. Although that's not doing too much, but that's expected. So now we've gone over grid template rows and columns, I would like to move on to gap. So we'll stick it back in grid template columns. We'll have 4 columns with 1 fraction. I'll give it 2 columns spaced by 1 fraction, and then let's give it a gap of 1, and that will give a gap in between each of the different items inside of the container. Could also do grid auto rows if we wanted to. And you'll notice that, we're able to basically manipulate the size of each item inside, or each row inside of the container. So that's pretty handy to understand. So the next thing that we'll move on to is grid area. Yeah, because I've just thought now a really good way to explain grid area would be, so we have grid area 1, 1, 1, 1. Now we can set it, so bear in mind that we're setting row, column, start, end, end. So we currently, this is all 1, 1, 1, 1, right? So it's the row item here starts at 1 and ends at 1, both columns and rows, right? So let's change it. So let's have it start at row 1 and column 1. No, start and end at row 1, but at column 2. Hence it moves over. Now we could keep it on row 1 and move it to column 3, right? We could also put it on row 2 at column 3, and we could also put it at row 3 at column 2, if that makes any sense. Now, what happens if we put row 4 at column 3? It goes in on itself. So we could set it at row 1, column 3, and ends at 4, 3. And it will fill that space. So I hope that makes grid area make a little more sense to a degree. Alright, I thought this would be a good opportunity to show off. We can still use the justify content to align things horizontally. So we've got these at flex end right now, so that's not going to do much, but it's the align items. So when we're aligning items, when we do this now, we're not actually using, so actually I should get rid of that and just have it at end, because we're no longer using Flexbox, we're using grid. So I can say align item start, and the way it works is it's going to align depending on the biggest element that's there. So right now we've set item 2 to have a height of 100 pixels, and what it's doing is it's aligning the items to the start of item 2, and we could set it to the end, and you'll notice how it's at the end of that row. We could have center, and you'd notice it would behave in exactly the same way. Say for instance we set it to start again, and then what we'll do is we'll give item, let me think, item 5, give it the exact same height of 100 pixels, and what you'll notice, those items around these 2 biggest elements are going to align themselves at the start. We'll notice that they're at the top of 2 and 5, yeah? And then we could put them to the end of those boxes, and we could also have them in the center, and we could even have them stretch to the size of those. So I hope that makes some sense. And don't forget, we can also add a gap of 1 at the end, or 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, or 6. But anyway, that's general gist of the message. Take care. I have linked to a landing page where I have a cheat sheet. I'm not trying to make any money. Just literally, it lets you visualize the different elements in HTML. It'll just help you because it's got like different visualizations and graphs that I've built. Only like a basic knock-up. It's not rocket science. It should just help you with your development. So I hope this video has helped you today to understand Flexbox and Grid quite quickly. I will be working on a more premium course where we'll be going through projects that will help you solidify the ideas in your mind, just because I don't believe that just going over these things is going to help you very much. You're going to have to want to implement them properly and attach some form of emotional pain to the learning, because that's the only way that you're going to keep the memories in your head. You've got to make mistakes and you've got to learn from them. But anyway, I'll let you go.